Okay, there we go. And it's perfect. Ah, yes, the perfect cup of tea. Not bad, Mr. Writer, but I feel like it could have steeped longer. Much like a certain character I used to know. Hey, Finton, that's too soon. No, too soon was killing off a favorite for the sake of getting an emotional reaction. Wait, okay, I'm confused now. Who are you talking about? Ugh, the fact that you have to ask just proves my point. Finton, wait. Ugh, I'm so confused.
Hi, everybody. We brought tea, too. Special tea made with the precious.
How do you make tea from a ring? Oh, you just put it in a cup of water. Huh. I don't know what else I expected.
It's really good. Do you want to try it?
Maybe in a minute. I gotta make sure everything's ready by the time Maryellen gets here. Oh, that might be her. Hey, can someone get the door? I can do it. I made tea earlier. You mean that protein shake you left in the kitchen, Arnold? It's called Pro-Tea. They're not the same thing. Okay, whatever you say. Hey, look, Lord Devereaux's here. Greetings, everyone. Wait, Lord Devereaux? Where have you been? I've been asking you to come back on the podcast for weeks now. I've already done 2 of the winter interviews from Flash Fiction February. Yes, well, it takes some time for me to get ready. Uh-huh, well, to be fair, you showed up pretty quick the other day when I texted you about that book fair. When an all-you-can-eat buffet is involved, time is of the essence, my friend. Okay, fine, that's fair. Well, now that you're here, we can get ready to start the podcast. Hey, did someone open a window in here? It feels like there's a draft. No, it's called Saved as Draft. He wasn't talking about the podcast. You know what? We'll just roll with it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 63 of the Saved as Draft podcast. It's crazy to think we have 63 episodes. Good golly, Miss Molly. Now, I had originally planned for this week's episode to be back to normal, but I somehow managed to forget both the weekly shoutouts thread and the writing discussion thread earlier this week in my subscriber chat. So, in general, I'm not really going to make excuses, but time has been weird this week. I'm hoping it's just a fluke, but regardless, I've set up reminders for myself for next week and going forward, so next week's episode should have everything as you would normally expect it. But even so, in terms of the shoutouts, I have a plan for those that I'll explain once we get there. Mishaps aside, today's episode features an interview with our Flash Fiction February 2026 heavyweight champion, Maryellen Brady. A bunch of you submitted questions for Maryllen's winning interview, and she and I had a ton of fun discussing them, so look forward to that later in the episode. Beyond that, we'll also look at this week's Power Up Prompt stories, which I'm really excited to talk about. And of course, before we get into everything, it's time for our weekly community spotlight. This week, I'd like to shout out my friend and fellow Audio Mazes author, Kaylee Robison. Kaylee has a Substack as well that I'll link to in the show notes, but she's most well known for her ongoing Enemies to Lovers fantasy romance series called Tides of Fate. The first book in the series, Tides of Deception, is actually on sale until tomorrow over on Amazon. You can get your own copy on Kindle for just 99 cents. I'll include a link to that in the show notes as well, so be sure to grab it because it is absolutely worth it. The characters and dialogue are top-notch. And if that's not enough to convince you, here's a quick summary of Tides of Deception by Kaylee Robison. Cassia has always felt the pull of the tides, but nothing could prepare her for the storm on the horizon. When her kingdom orders her to marry its greatest enemy, Louis, the future king of Allagash, Cassia is swept into a glittering court where every smile hides a dagger. Whispers of forbidden magic churn beneath the surface, and a queen determined to drag Cassia under. Then there's Agnor, mysterious, magnetic, and absolutely off-limits. As Cassia uncovers the truth about her own bloodline and the gods who walk among them, she realizes this marriage was never about peace. It was about power. With her heart divided and the currents closing in, Cassia must choose. Will she get swept up in the current, or will she rise and change the tides of fate? So good. Seriously, you gotta check that one out. I've got a paperback copy myself here since I love physical books, but you can't beat a great ebook for just 99 cents. I have to also give her a shout out for the cover art that Kaylee does over on Audio Mazes as well. If you've been a subscriber over there, you can see all of her covers on the various stories there, and they are just amazing every single time. Especially the ones that she's done for my stories. They are just so good. And yeah, I mean, hey, an author and an artist. It's a combination that I believe a few of you listening can claim as well. Now, I myself am no good at art, and I'm not jealous of people who are. Why would I be jealous? It's not like I want to be able to create amazing visuals based on the worlds in my head. Who wants that? Jokes aside, a thank you again to Kaylee for being an awesome member of the community, and I look forward to hearing news on her upcoming third book in the Tides of Fate series. Remember, get your copy of the first book while it's on sale at the link in the show notes. And that's housekeeping sorted. Let's dive into some weekly shoutouts right after a quick word from this week's sponsor. Today's episode of the Saved as Draft podcast is sponsored by Palantir, the only beverage approved by Dark Lords everywhere.
Greetings, mortals. Welcome to my domain. Allow me to introduce you to my latest creation. Powerful orcs who will soon be granted untold strength.
I'm ready, master. Give me the strength to fight.
We wish to serve.
Behold, my perfect elixir, Palantir.
It's beautiful.
Looks like tea's back on the menu, boys.
With this, I will finally please the Dark Lord's Steepmon and obtain the cuppa to rule them all.
Is your army looking a little dead? Perhaps they're just thirsty. Try giving them some Palantir today and unlock their full potential. Alright, and we're back. So, normally I would open a thread each week on Tuesdays in my subscriber chat for you to share links, but as I mentioned in the intro, I slipped up and forgot this week. So, thankfully, my friend and fellow podcaster Mina Howell keeps track of all the links that you've shared in the past, so I was able to go into the backlog and find 5 stories to talk about that haven't been featured yet. Stay tuned for that thread next Tuesday, but in the meantime, let's check out 5 stories from the vault. Our first shout-out this week is The Threshold by Edward Marlowe Ruiz. EMR and I go way back to the beginning of my time on Substack, so I will always jump at the chance to talk about his work. In a community full of writers, he still manages to have a way with words that I've rarely seen. With this story, Edward throws us right into the action. We join the captain of a ship as some sort of emergency sends everything into chaos. The action here is tense and the urgency is clear. The story grabs your attention and it does not let go. The whole time, you're trying to piece together what's happening and why the ship's in danger. And by the end, dear listener, you will get your answers. But I promise, it's not what you expect. Those final lines were incredible, by the way. I love the ending, but I won't spoil it here. Let's check out an excerpt instead. Gravity returned. Everybody dropped. Some plopped onto their backs. Some fell face first, shattering their helmets and cheekbones. A couple broke their arms. One person their legs. Alejandro heard his wrist and fingers snap on impact. He bit the inside of his cheek and suppressed his scream. A single tear trickled down his cheek as he shifted himself upright to look at the carnage. The uninjured were standing up and the injured were groaning in pain or didn't groan at all. Everything had been torn apart in less than 10 minutes upon entering. The captain noted the time and he lifted himself up with his knees alone. The sobbing began to permeate the stillness. The panic and pain came out in halfway shouts. He spoke loud and clear. "We must get the injured to the med bay. Anyone that is stable, please help. The safest place to be is within the heartlock. I know, it hurts, but the ones that have tragically died..." Clang, clang, clang! They sounded upon the door. Alejandro's hand felt like 2 rocks put together. People began to drag or carry their loved ones into the heartlock. Fear pushed them into clarity. Clang, clang, clang! The whole vessel vibrated with each pound. Alejandro fumbled with his tool belt. He frowned as he pulled out the only item, a shattered super seer. Useless. He had hoped, but no, shattered like his wrist. Dink, dink, dink. They were lighter this time, more inviting, warm. They were there. Oof, so good. Great story from Edward there. Our second shout out this week is It Is Raining by Hazel Allen. This piece is a commentary on the state of the world, and as always with Hazel's work, it offers up beautiful and heartbreaking observations in equal measure. After a short introduction, the poem itself presents the idea that rain is the Earth's tears, that the weather matches the planet's emotions. The poem explores this in small, tightly woven stanzas that each have a lasting impact. It's beautiful and perfectly paced. Let's check out an excerpt. The sky, a bizarre mixture of longing and anger. Perhaps it is how the world grieves. Or, this is how the earth lacks forgiveness. Each drop of wet glistens like the tear of a child who was never allowed their chance to cry. Each cloud of gray, a bubble holding back relentless defiance towards the crimes committed. Incredible. Really, really good stuff. Be sure to check these out. Links in the show notes. Our third shout out this week is The Art of Line Editing, How to Turn Prose into Music by High Priestess Lakeisha and Dan Katz. This is an excellent article about the art of editing, and what I love about it is how it brings out the artistic elements of editing specifically. See, I imagine that many people probably think of editing as something that's clinical or detached from creativity. It's just cutting things, fixing errors, checking grammar, stuff like that. Right? Well, yes, but it is more than that, because editing is its own art form. Great editors immerse themselves into the piece and seek out places to tighten or polish the work. It's about more than fixing typos, it's about crafting the perfect version of the story that's in front of them. And this article really understands that. And it goes into really wonderful detail too, with sections for imagery, clarity, flow, and more. It's a fantastic read, especially if you yourself are an editor. And if you are, by the way, drop a link in the comments, because I'm going to need one soon. Okay, let's check out an excerpt. Whether I'm writing or editing, it's this passion for words and music that guides my pen, or more recently, my fingers across the keyboard. Line editing is hands down my favorite type of editing because I get to help my clients make their words sing. But what exactly is line editing, and how is it different from other types of editing? Line editing is the form of editing that focuses on style and flow, repetition and redundancy, genre-appropriate language, and consistency of style and voice, while preserving and strengthening the author's unique voice. Unlike developmental editing, it does not look at the big picture. Unlike copy editing, it doesn't focus on accuracy, consistency in style and formatting, or inconsistencies. And unlike proofreading, it does not correct grammatical, punctuation, and spelling errors. But that's in theory. In practice, the line is much blurrier, and I certainly won't hesitate to point any of these issues out if I find them during a line edit. It's just that I don't focus on these things. So, how do I approach a line edit? First things first, I listen to rhythm, cadence, and melody. I love that last part. The parallels between writing and music in that piece are great. It's a great article. Be sure to check it out in the show notes. Our fourth shout out this week is Footprints by Tamsin G. So this one was actually for day 3 of Flash Fiction February a few months back, which asked for a story about a ritual or supernatural game. In Tamsin's piece here, she describes a creature similar to an owl who offers to help a group of adventurers in exchange for playing its game. The stakes are interesting. If they win, they get the answers they seek and apparently immortality as well. But if they lose, well, they die. They can also choose to leave and not play at all, but that option doesn't appeal to them because they need to find the others that they're searching for, and this is the only way. And so, the owl creature describes the game, which is essentially navigating a maze successfully. From here, the story takes both literal and metaphorical twists and turns. Tamsin's writing style is amazing in this regard. She creates a rich and atmospheric world, then leverages sharp pacing and dialogue to keep you engaged and intrigued all the way through. Much like Pringles, when you start a Tamsin story, you won't be able to stop. It's just too good. Let's check out an excerpt. The group felt the change in atmosphere almost instantly. The domain of the spirits felt cold, but more from within, like the soul within was bathed in ice water, cleansed, sharp, and invigorating. Oh no. Lyra's voice broke the stillness. Her gaze had drifted from the path to a tangle of low shrubs just off the trail. Beneath the leaves lay 3 skeletons, arranged with unsettling care. Their armor still hugged their bones, swords rested at their sides, and gloves and packs remained fastened. "Don't worry," Fen said, quickly placing a hand on Lyra's shoulders. "They're probably adventurers from a long time ago. It takes a while for bodies to end up like that." He gestured down the path. "We'll find the ones who went in before this happens to them." "Right," Lyra said, determined to find who they were looking for. She added, "Let's go. My grandma is waiting for me at home with a birthday cake. For a moment, Ajax couldn't tear her gaze from the skeletons. There was something that bothered her about knowing these people had been left there like this. Their families probably never knew what happened to them. Her heart ached for their families back at home. Amazing. I love how we got to see so many emotions in that excerpt. It's just another example of why Tamsin's work is really, really amazing. All right. Our final shout out this week is Mass Extinction Event by Suswati Basu. This is a poem that also features narration edited and produced by Aurelian Ashmore, who is one of the most talented audio creatives that I've ever met. I highly recommend his work and his tutorials on recording and using Audacity. The subtle echo and reverb effects on the narration from Suswati that Aurelian added here lends everything a nice amount of gravitas and presence in the audio. It sounds like the kind of thing you would hear playing over a loudspeaker right before the end of the world. It's a powerful poem, and the audio version really takes it to another level. I'm a big fan of Suswati's work, and this is a great example of why. Let's check out an excerpt. From womb to doom, our population is booming as we can't stop consuming our resources, eventually entombing ourselves in this burning earth. Meanwhile, rich men line their pockets, sending rockets up to space with fake smiles, racking up air miles, racing towards our collective demise. Wow, incredible. And amazing work from all the shoutouts this week. It was really fun to go back and check some of the links that I missed from prior weeks, but we'll be back to normal next week where I will be asking you to share your latest stuff in my subscriber chat on Tuesday, so keep an eye out for that. Next up, we'll take a look at both the winner and runner-up from last week's Wandering Prompt. Welcome, one and all, to the Wandering Prompt Award Ceremony.
This week we've got two amazing entries for you. Our winner, who posted their piece first, and a runner-up, who posted a response later in the week.
And both of you are just now hearing this, but joining us today is the prompt goddess herself and creator of the Wandering Prompts, Sarah Rush. Hey, wait a second, seriously? Sarah's here? Oh no, my hair looks terrible. I need to fix it.
She's literally right there.
All right, you two, get out of here. Sarah, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So yeah, let's jump in and talk quickly about the Wandering Prompt stories this week. So the first one is actually a poem, not a story. It is the Playtheon, I believe that's how it's pronounced, by Verdant Butterfly. And of course, Verdant Butterfly always does really nice poems. But what I liked about this one, from my perspective, was that I like how she took the prompt, it was kind of vague. It was about like finding out that you're the god of a universe and having to build one from scratch. And so she took that, of course, to, be like imagination, like a child's imagination, which I loved. And then, so that was kind of the focus of the poem. And it reminded me of when I was a kid, in the front yard with the neighborhood kids, all of us pretending that like the big old tree in my front yard was the Deku tree from Zelda, and we would go on all these adventures and stuff. Did you have anything like that, Sarah, when you were a kid? Did you have any kind of like fun, like imagination type stuff that you did like that?
Unfortunately, I didn't have the DQ tree, but I used to live around a bunch of wooded areas, and I would literally just like go and find like a spot with a bunch of trees and bushes and like decide it was my home, and I would pick out like rooms that I wanted to be like my kitchen and my bedroom, and I would like pretend cook stuff with mushrooms, which it is a miracle that I didn't get poisoned. But like it was like a whole thing. So this poem reminded me of that, and it's really fun. I really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. The thing about the mushrooms is too funny. Yeah, it is a miracle, like you said. That's too funny. All right, great. Well, so Verdant Butterfly's poem was the winner this week. I'll read a quick excerpt from it, and then we can kind of share some final thoughts before we check out the runner-up. So here's an excerpt from the Playtheon. A whispered rule can shift the world. The roads run where he's planned. A fallen wall clicks back in place. The fight's turned by his hand. He leans in close to set the scene. Moves figures slow and sure. A voice for each, a different tone. Each story held secure. No crown upon his head tonight, no throne beneath his claim. Yet every piece will rise or fall at mention of his name. And I love that. It's one of those things where it's like it has a childlike wonder to it, but it has like that depth and that complexity. Like it still brings like a profound sort of tone to everything, despite also being very kind of fun and whimsical. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Well, congratulations again to Verdant Butterfly. And the prompt goddess is hopefully going to be here on the show just about every week, talking about these wandering prompts. I figured who better than the person who created them. All right. Next up, we'll talk about the runner up when actually, oh, something's going on. I'm getting some weird interference. Sarah, do you hear anything?
I don't hear anything.
Wandering prompt, episode 63. Write a story or poem about someone who can see the future when they drink a certain type of tea. They've just seen something horrible, and when they go to brew more, they realize they've run out. 1,000 words or less. First to post a link in the episode's comments wins. A runner-up will also be chosen. Good luck. Oh, okay. All right. I think it's working now. That was weird. Okay. Our runner-up this week for the Wandering Prompt is The First Spark by J. Allen Winchester. Of course, I know him as Jaden, and Jaden is a master storyteller, narrator, and world builder, and all those elements I felt like came through in this piece. And I wanted to call out, as opposed to an excerpt, a favorite line of mine from this piece, which reads, "As if perceiving the sound for the first time, the being quieted suddenly, and the heat died away with their fright." And I love that line, and I love how this piece in general took something as kind of challenging and nebulous as the creation of an entire universe and made it somehow feel personal. Like this story is clearly set in Jaden's wider kind of fictional universe, the Imaginings universe. There's kind of a nod to it at the end. And of course, the subtitle of the story is The Birth of a Demiurge, which we all know is a major player in Jaden's universe. So yeah, the idea to within 1,000 words here, it came out to 995. Jaden was able to tell a creation story, a creation myth, if you will, and that's super impressive. Sarah, what did you think about this one? Did you have like a favorite element of it?
I really enjoyed the narration on this one.
I could not agree more. I appreciate you saying that because Jaden has recently done some narration with some of his stories, and I gotta say, it always turns out great. I feel like it just adds so much to the experience. So that's a really good point, Sarah. Thank you. And a huge thank you to both of our entrants this week from the Wandering Prompt. As always, there's one hidden in the episode here, so when you hear it, get started on your entry because the first person to post a link in the show comments will be the winner. And then, of course, we will pick out a runner-up as well. If there's multiple entries past the winner, it'll just be a random choice. But yes, first story to get posted is the winner. And congratulations again to both our winner and runner-up this week. And thank you, Sarah, for being here.
Of course.
All right, and a big thank you to the prompt goddess herself for coming onto the show. Hoping to see her here more often to talk about these wandering prompts. I figured, as the person who created them, who better to share their thoughts. So, next up, let's talk about this week's power-up prompt stories. This week's prompt was horror. Your elements were the hospital setting, the surgeon character, and the oath they took as the conflict, not only to themselves, but to a darker power. Now, unlike weekly shoutouts, these are going to be smaller, more focused examinations of the stories. Specifically here, I like to talk about what made each story stand out to me. So let's see what everyone came up with. First up this week is Extraction by Gregory Blair. This story takes the prompt in a really cool direction. Our surgeon here serves an ancient Egyptian god, and the scalpel gives them visions of the crimes people have yet to commit. So with this, Gregory brings up an excellent question. Is it justified to punish someone for a crime they haven't committed yet? If you stop them now, you could prevent damage and harm or worse. It's a fascinating concept, and I really love how Gregory pulls us into the world here by painting a clear picture of the lore, the oath that was taken, and of course, the motivation behind why the surgeon is doing this. It's a precise, calculated, and polished piece that mimics the precision of a master surgeon themselves, which I really enjoyed. Our second power-up prompt story this week is from J.M. Gooding, and I say this because you'll appreciate the title more knowing who the author is first. So the title for this one is called The Guy Who Hates Hard Taco Shells Asked Me to Write a Haunted Scalpel Story. Kira showed up. And they say Shakespeare's dead. The beef between JM and I continues, but we must first examine this piece from an author who's widely known for subverting prompts. And before we get into it, I can see how the haunted scalpel thing is kind of cheesy, but to be fair, I feel like people took it in a really cool direction, and it seemed cool at the time. Now, in this story, I love JM's muse, Kira. The way that she embodies a classic muse while also giving JM a run for his money is really funny. And obviously, this isn't the first story she's shown up in, but their interactions always feel real, and the banter feels very spot on as well. And with this piece, JM really uses that humor to bring us into the moment. He forces us to let our guard down before shattering the fourth wall and dissecting the prompt in real time alongside Kira. The two argue about how to approach it, whether the balance is right between freedom and the established elements, and so on. And it's a valid conversation. I myself struggle to find that balance when I'm writing these prompts. Like, how do I give you the seeds of a story without forcing you to grow them into something specific, right? I don't want to box you in. It's a question that I still struggle to answer, and with every prompt I try to get a little bit better about it, but I know some are better than others. Even so, JM's story here subverts the prompt beautifully. The elements of the prompt are there, but instead of following the path that I laid out, he examines it. He pulls it apart and he puts it back together, and in doing so, speaks to writers everywhere in the process. Now, he and I may agree on taco shells, but one thing that you'll never hear me say is that J.M. Gooding is not an incredible writer. This was a phenomenal piece for this week's Power Up Prompt. Our next Power Up Prompt story this week is The Manor That Kept by Malric Wraithmore. Now, speaking of authors who have made a name for themselves recently, Malric has quickly garnered a reputation for writing stories that combine multiple prompts. I think we need to call the Guinness World Records for this one too, because with this story, Malric has combined 8 prompts into one piece, including, of course, this week's power-up prompt. And what I loved about this piece is how Malric is able to start with this huge, grand opening that sets the stage, but by the end, the story becomes a deeply personal and character-driven narrative. It starts big, but then it zooms in to show you the minutiae of the world and its people. In particular, the final lines of this piece are chilling, and despite this idea coming from 8 different prompts, it all fits together beautifully. And that right there, my friends, is the sign of a talented author. I could not imagine spinning that many plates for a single story, but Malric made it work. Next up is Subclinical by Maryellen Brady. With this piece, Maryellen once again shows us that she has an encyclopedia of a mind. I've mentioned countless times on the show here how this author combines scientific concepts and terms into her stories, but with this one, she manages to do the exact same thing, but with medical terminology. And it feels like this story was written by a real practicing surgeon. It's incredible the amount of detail that she manages to fit into this piece without sacrificing the flow of the story itself. The opening feels precise, but it's layered with hints at what's to come. It's a very nice balance. And reading this took me back to a story I did in college during a creative writing class. I wrote a story about a surgeon back then as well, and there was someone in the class who was also a med student. They themselves loved the story, but during the feedback session, they tore apart my piece because all the medical details were wrong, and that's because I did zero research. Maryellen obviously did not make that same mistake here. And as the story goes on, she once more shows you how she can pull you into a world that feels realized and whole in the span of just a few thousand words. It's really incredible, and it happens every time she posts. And it's reasons like that that made her the heavyweight champion in Flash Fiction February. She's an author who never misses. And if you weren't already excited for her interview coming up here soon, you definitely should be now. And our next power-up prompt story is They Found a Way by CJ Knight, aka Terrifying Tales. Right off the bat, this story feels like it would fit really well in my synaptic sprawl mythos. CJ uses the prompt here to talk about how the disease in this story is a doorway or invasion in this case. The early realization gives everything this beautiful cosmic horror tinge that I really loved. Not only that, but CJ gives the scalpel from the prompt a voice of its own. It converses with the protagonist, and it works really well here. And I particularly enjoyed how CJ uses dividers in the story to sort of jump between different scenes and show us more of the backstory and world. The pacing is very intentional, and in that way, the story was all the stronger for it. It's a pleasure, as always, to read work from Terrifying Tales, and I gotta say, horror fans, you need to check this one out. Remember, you'll find links to all of these in the show notes. Next up this week is The Kiss of Peace by Hallie Jules. Now, for those of you who don't know, Hallie is most well known for her comedy writing and her romantasy stories. She hasn't done much horror, but after reading this story, I sincerely hope that changes. This story takes the prompt in a wildly cool direction, involving brain implants that are part of a larger conspiracy to achieve world peace. Much like CJ Knight's story just now, the scalpel in this one also talks, and it taunts our protagonist. My favorite thing about Hallie's work here, though, is how she creates these layers of intrigue, and then she'll slowly peel them back one by one as the story goes on. She gives you just enough of an answer to invite even more questions, and then she fills the space in between with fear and dread as we march toward the next revelation. It's beautifully done, and overall it creates this horror story package that's packed with atmosphere and terror, but also one you can't put down. It's awesome work, and I hope to see more horror from this author in the future. And our final Power Up Prompt story this week is titled Power Up Prompt number 28 by Mercedes de Santiago. I love seeing new stories from Mercedes, and with this one, she offers up some really interesting elements. The tension and fear is strong right off the bat. The way she weaves in the backstory of the surgeon and the scalpel is really cool. And one thing that I enjoyed is how Mercedes shows us what all this sacrifice and secrecy is for. We get a glimpse of the monster behind everything, and it is terrifying. Also, Mercedes has a poll at the end of this story. She's letting readers decide which ending will come next. And I love that. As you know, I've been writing branching narratives since I joined Substack, and I've been working with a company called Audio Mazes for just over a year now doing similar projects. So, when I see something like this, I gotta call it out. So please, check out Mercedes' story at the link in the show notes and cast your vote on which ending should come next. And thank you to everyone who submitted Power Up Prompt stories this week. The variety and skill on display is amazing, as always. And now, coming up next is our final Flash Fiction February winner interview. But first, a quick mindful moment. Hey there, this is Chill Bradley, here with this week's mindful moment. Here's a quote to consider. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. Maryellen Radmacher. The reason this quote stood out to me is simple. This is how I feel most days. I make it to the end of another workday. I finish a couple of things on an agenda that seems to be infinitely long. Spoiler alert, it is. And then I go back to bed thinking about how I should have done better, but hey, I'll try again tomorrow. And that's the cycle. That's the loop that I find myself trapped in. And there are bright spots too, of course, but that's largely my day-to-day. It's all just working up the courage to try again tomorrow. And in the moment, it can really feel like everything sucks. And it might, but tomorrow is a new day. And if you treat every day like a fresh start, a total reset if you will, then it has the potential to be totally different than the day before. Does that guarantee it will be better? No. But I'll still take those odds any day of the week. So, go into tomorrow thinking of it like Schrodinger's weekday. The day is both good and bad until you get there to observe it. Until then, all possibilities are equal. And thanks to the relentless march of time, if tomorrow isn't good, well, guess what? You'll get to try again the next day. All it takes is a little courage to get there, and a little faith that tomorrow will be better than the day before. Because it very well could be. Thanks for listening. Back to the show. All right, and we're back. This week's guest needs no introduction, but I'll give her one anyway. She's the winner of both the First Indulgence Challenge and the heavyweight champion of Flash Fiction February 2026. She's the creator of Starlight Cove and a master of nearly every genre she's ever put to paper. And above all else, she's a dear friend and an amazing human being. I'm sure you've guessed who this week's guest is by now, but if not, it's time to find out. Let's dive in. All right, everybody. This week on the Saved as Draft podcast, we are wrapping up the third of our 3 interviews with the winners of Flash Fiction February. So this week, I'm very excited to welcome to the show for the second time, the heavyweight bracket winner, Maryellen Brady. Maryellen, thanks for being here.
Thank you for hosting.
So, welcome back to the show. And to start us off here, I know some people may not have heard your first interview. So, could you give us just a quick little intro? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your creative journey thus far.
Okay, well, I'm Mary Ellen Brady. I've been on Substack for a little over a year now. That blows my mind. And that's pretty much how long I have been sharing my stories with other people. I've been writing my entire life. Before I could hold a pencil, before I could spell, I have been a storyteller. That is just who I am. So that's
Mm,
me.
I love it. I love it. Fantastic. So, my next question for you here, since you were the winner of the heavyweight bracket this year in Flash Fiction February, and you were also, if I'm not mistaken, you also participated in my very first writing challenge, which was, of course, Flash Fiction February back in 2025. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you've been around since the very beginning. My next question for you is, what was your impression of this year's challenge? How did you like it compared to, say last year?
Well, last year it was just for fun. There were no
Hmm.
brackets, there were no points. It was just drop a prompt and write, drop a prompt and write. And since I didn't have much of a following, it was just writing for myself to see if I could write in all these other genres because I was a cozy writer. That's all I knew myself as was a cozy writer.
Hmm.
And your prompts opened me up to, well, let's try writing a mystery. Let's try writing a horror. Let's try writing in these different genres and just see if I could. And
Right.
this year, I took it as a challenge because I was in the heavyweight bracket, which blows my mind too. Of okay, let's just do this and see if we can get people to look at our stories
Hmm.
and get some comments and some engagement. So that was my challenge this time was the engagement part, which
Right.
I really have not been grasping that part of Substack the way I should be.
Mm, mm. Yeah.
I write and just throw it out there and then I go hide under the covers and whatever happens, happens.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I think a lot of writers can sympathize with that feeling.
I mean, even with I'm close to 1,000 subscribers now, I still, when I post, I still want to go and hide and not look until days later.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely understand that. Um, so yeah, you were also the winner of my last challenge too, the first indulgence back in October. So yeah, and that of course was the first time I had done any kind of scoring system. And then with Flash Fiction February, of course, I introduced the bracket system to kind of
Right.
divide up, people based on subscribers. So yeah, you are the only two-time champion thus far
Woo.
since I started the writer's journey. So how does that feel? Like did you I feel like you've always been very humble in the sense that like when I spoke to you during Flash Fiction February, you weren't really expecting to win again. And the same goes with the first indulgence. I mean, despite the fact that the numbers were incredible, you've always remained humble throughout all of it, which I, of course, really admire. But yeah, two-time champion. How does that feel?
I still don't believe it. Um, with the first indulgence, Connor was in the lead for 3 of those 4 weeks, and
That's
I
right.
didn't think I had a chance.
Mm.
And that last week, I was like, stop, just stop editing yourselves, just throw it out there and do this. And I went for it, and somehow I won.
It's so good. It's so good. I love to see it. And you're right. I remember Connor and you were very neck and neck in that last
Yes.
challenge. And that of course, with Connor being a horror author, he was really thriving. I know with Flash Fiction February, he said it was a bit more difficult to kind of stay near the top of the bracket just because I was jumping around genres every day.
Right, right. And horror was new for me. I did not know that I could do thrillers for horror. My mind had thought of horror as, those gruesome chop 'em up movies that are really popular. And
Hmm.
I don't write that.
Yeah.
But I started learning that there are different flavors to horror and there's different shades to what you can write. And I was like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, horror is definitely one of those things where it's like if you dive below sort of the mainstream, there, like any genre, right? It's a spectrum. There's all different kinds of variations and ways to approach it. So I love that you called that out. So yeah, before we jump into the community questions here, I've got one more question for you. As you know, just like last year,
Okay.
coming up in May, I'll be doing Madness and Mayhem again, which of course, again, you participated in the original version of that challenge last year. So I'm curious, is there anything you hope to see next month, in that Madness and Mayhem challenge? And do you like kind of the setup with the brackets and everything in the scoring system? Would you like to see that return as well?
I do like the brackets. I think that is so much fairer.
Yeah.
I remember talking to Leron about, he said, you're way ahead. And he had me in the incorrect bracket because he didn't see my numbers.
Mm,
And I was like, maybe the brackets need to be adjusted a little bit more.
right.
That's my thought because,
Okay.
oh, I think the heavyweight was like over 100 or over 500 or something. Maybe adjust those a little bit because I
Okay.
think the middleweight needs a little bit more space.
Gotcha. A little more
Um,
balance. Okay.
yeah, a little more balance because it's hard. I mean, I'm still under 1,000, and
Right.
it's hard getting. There's some portions that it's just hard getting over those numbers.
Hmm.
So
Right.
that was my only thing was with the brackets. Um, Madness and Mayhem last year, I think I created a whole new world. I created a mayhem world with your stories because they hopped all over the place, which
Yeah.
I loved.
Yeah.
But I think I created my own little world because I didn't fit into, I was still beginning, didn't fit into my cozy world. So I created a whole new world, another pocket for them. But I liked that. After it was done, I was kind of like, oh, I like this. I think I might do that again in May.
Right. Right.
But I'm not going to compete in May. I'm out of the competing zone. I'm done.
Right. 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 I
I'm
remember you and
officially
I.
retired.
Yeah, I remember you and I talking about that. And I think that's fair. I think two back-to-back wins, you deserve just to have fun instead of
Yeah, I just want to have fun. Don't score me at all.
right, 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 right. And that is more than fair. More than fair. Okay, great. No, I love it. Yeah, I've got some cool stuff behind the scenes that I'm planning. I'm always trying to kind of change things up. As you said, last year's Madness and Mayhem was the first time I introduced the concept of completely unpredictable prompts where it could be any genre or approach each day. And obviously I'll probably keep that element intact. But yeah, hoping to get even more creative with the Madness and Mayhem theming this time around.
I
So
really enjoyed that. I didn't know what was coming.
yeah,
I think that challenge just for yourself is kind of fun. If you don't put so much pressure on yourself and just play, it's
right.
a lot of fun.
Right, 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 exactly. And yeah, and in those situations, you'll often find that you have, more kind of flexibility in your writing than you realized. You'll discover new genres that you can write in and so on and so forth.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And you can
yeah.
always use them like Daniel and I were talking about. I have a problem with dialogue. I think my dialogue still needs work.
Mm,
And I used some of the challenges as, okay, I'm doing mainly dialogue in this one. I need my dialogue to shine. And so you can use them that way too. If you think you have a weakness, work on it in the challenge because that's what the challenge is for.
yes, 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 yes. I love that you said that. Yeah, exactly. Because again, it's short form fiction, so you're not committing to an entire novel with this idea. It's meant to kind of try new things, stretch your wings, and as you said, hone in on the things you want to, focus on improving. So I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Yeah,
fan.
that's what I used them for was, I needed my dialogue work or I
Mm.
needed sensory detail work. Something like that. I would just be like, that's my focus. Here we go.
Right, right. No, I love that. That's amazing. All right. Well, let's dive into the community questions here. So, for anybody listening that's not aware, with these special winner interviews, I've opened up for the first time ever on the podcast here the ability for people to submit their own questions to be asked on the show. So, a bunch of people showed up to ask you questions, Maryellen. And so we'll start with this first one. Bent but True asks, Mary Ellen, you write in quite a few genres. Is there any genre you've been hesitant to write in?
I don't know if it's hesitant, but I argue a lot with Grimdark.
Okay.
Um, I tried to write one for Nikki's new imprint and I tossed it. I mean, it's the first time I've ever tossed something.
Mm,
I just, that one and I do not get along. And I think it's because it's so dark and
hmm.
I am always threading in just a hint of hope in my
Yeah.
stories.
Hmm.
So yeah, Grimdark and I do not get along.
I mean, that's a totally fair answer. And honestly, props to you as well for trying it, right? I think everyone should try as many genres as they can, but it takes a lot of kind of understanding of yourself and your writing to say, you know what, this one's not for me. And then so I definitely understand where you're coming from there. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I got a great character that I will keep around and maybe put in another story from writing that grimdark, but the genre did not fit for me.
Fair, totally fair. Okay, awesome. Next up, Jennifer Jorgensen asks, how do you find the time to write so much? You're so prolific and everything is of the highest quality. Plus, I know you have a lot more in your life. How do you fit it all in?
Well, first of all, thank you, Jen. I appreciate the comment of it being high quality because sometimes I post and it's a first draft, especially when I'm in feral February of prompts. It just I type and go, and then
Yeah.
after I post it, I see the typos, and I'm just like, you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 exactly. When you're going that fast, you have to sacrifice somewhere.
Yeah, but what you don't see is in my drafts just on Substack are probably about 51 stories that are halfway completed or
Mm,
they are completed and need edits or so there's lots in there that I work on and I'll post something once a week and it looks like I'm prolific. I have lots of stuff that's in process that people don't see. So,
oh, okay, okay. That's interesting. That's really interesting because I myself, there are a few projects that I've started that I would like to get back to, but in general, especially with short fiction, I'm the kind of writer that like once I start it, I just focus on that until it's published. So the idea of having kind of, as you said, multiple sort of things in progress, I can see how that would afford you some flexibility to kind of come back and work on it.
yeah, there's a couple series like my Crispy Zombies. There I did a road trip story and
Mm.
there's at least 10 of them that are in there and they're in various stages of progress and they'll eventually get done and posted. But yeah, I when I'm in the line at the grocery store, I will go read over something or I will type something in or I'm writing all the time. There's not a
Mm,
designated writing time.
right.
So, but yeah, the draft section of my folders, you would be you you would have fun looking at how much of a mess there is in there.
I like that though. I like that. And again, every writer is different, and I love that because it's like, certain writers they have to have sort of that block of time that's like this is for writing. But I'm sort of with you on your approach where, like any time of the day, even if I'm not at my computer is writing time. I'm thinking about it.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's great. I like that. It's a great answer. Next up, Wendy Russell asks, what do you secretly hope readers notice that they almost never do?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Um, I've been thinking about this concept for a while, and I think this is the answer is readers do not realize when they come to a story, they're bringing their own filter.
Mm,
So when you read a story, it means something to you at that moment in your life. You could read it next month and it could mean something completely different to you. We bring filters when we read, and I don't think readers actually notice that.
mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Um, yeah, I've noticed that more and more as Mina and I will go through some stories, and I'll be like, "Well, this is what I saw," and she sees something completely different,
Mm,
and so that filter thing is been present in my mind a lot. So when I send something out, it's from me, but you're going to read into it what you're going to bring to it.
right. No, I actually love that you mentioned that because I'm not sure who said it, but there's a quote that I saw a while back that basically, I mean, it was probably years ago at this point, but it was basically that, as you said, the reader kind of fills in the gaps in your story with their imagination, right? And or as you said,
Yes.
they kind of bring their own filter. Um, and so that's kind of an aha moment for me as a writer, and I feel like for a lot of writers too, because it's like, when I first started writing, I was obsessed with making sure that I explained every single detail. And then it's like, that's not how it's supposed to be, right? We're supposed to
Right.
tell the story the way that's meant to be told, but leave that space for the reader's imagination to fill in the gaps. So I really like that you called that out.
Yeah, because I think we all do that when we're first starting, is you over explain and backstory, and you don't need to do all that, but we don't realize that until we're further along in our journey.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a very important lesson to learn, and I think it's also something that's worth considering too as you're writing the story, right? Like, how will people interpret this? How are the different ways that it could be interpreted? Kind of taking that into account.
Yeah, and I do kind of like, I'll put in a bunch of sensory details, and then when I'm reading through it, I'll be like, oh, pull that back out, pull that back out. You don't want to give them too much because you want them to actually feel like they're in the story, and some of those things are theirs to imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I love that. Fantastic. All right, so next up, Namita Call had several questions for you. I think there's like four here, so we'll kind of go rapid fire through these. Um,
Okay.
so the first question here, it's a bit of a multi-parter. Namita asks, what would be your ideal day slash writing space? She says slash ritual or art writing studio. She says ideal in the sense of appealing to your present self. And then she asks you to describe your ideal kind of writing space with no restrictions at all. And then a version of it where you kind of take into account your present life restrictions. So let's start with the first one. If there were, if money was no object and there was no obstacles in your way, what would your ideal writing space look like?
I actually had it for a while. There was a place called Smatcha near me that was a tea bar,
Oh, okay.
and I wrote at that bar every day. And I had a barista that knew my exact tea order. She brewed my tea exactly the way I liked it. There was a waterfall behind me. There was a steady stream of people coming in and out. So you had that murmur in back of you. Um, but there was nothing loud. Like, lots of coffee bars will be very loud. This
Right.
was a very quiet kind of Asian feel to it. That was my ideal place. And unfortunately, it closed because I wrote there every single day.
Oh, wow. That sounds perfect. Yeah.
It
Oh,
was wonderful. It was like this bar with very thick, like 3-inch thick polished wood as the bar. It was just a beautiful place, and I missed it every day.
mm. I would too. I would too. I miss it and I wasn't even there. Uh, that sounds wonderful. So I guess then for part two of Namita's question here then, what is kind of your current writing space given, like you said that this place closed? Like where do you typically find like your ideal writing conditions these days?
These days, I pack everything into a writer's bag, and I will either go to the library if
Mm,
it's a rainy day, or I will go sit out under a tree in the park
ooh,
if it's a good day, which
yeah.
hopefully those days will be coming again.
Right. Now the seasons are changing. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I love that. Okay, great answers. Next up, Namita asks, if you were given an opportunity to name yourself, what would you choose?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I think I would still choose my name only because I was named after my dad's mom, and she passed away when he was 5.
Hmm.
So I never got to meet her. Um, and he never used my name. He had a nickname for me because saying my name was painful for him, but he wanted me to have it. So
Hmm.
I kind of treasure that name. It's my grandmother's name, and I wish I would have known her.
Okay. All right. That's a very valid answer. Honestly, it's also one of those things where it's like I couldn't really see, having known you for just over a year now, I really couldn't see you being named anything else. When I think Mary Ellen, like that's your name. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, thank
it's
you.
just yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. It's just I literally could not think of you being named anything else. And now that I know the story behind it, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, so next up, Namita asked, which word, sentence, or dialogue is special to you? So I guess the question here is there a line that you've written or a piece of dialogue that's really stuck with you?
Oh, you know what? There was a passage that I memorized that I wrote that actually went into my first flash fiction for this year.
Hmm.
It was let me see if I can do it now. Do you remember when we flew together before questions became your weapons, before no, before my questions became weapons and your faith became armor?
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can picture that line. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, that floated through my head for a long time. And then when that first prompt posted, I was like, I'm going to write the story I've been wanting to write and didn't have the guts to write.
I love it when that happens, when a prompt kind of gives
Yeah,
you that little nudge that you need. Yeah.
it was just like, do it, just do it.
Good stuff. Great answer. Okay, last question from Namita is when are you planning to release the audio cassettes you recorded for your dad as a kid? I know you've mentioned those before.
Nope, never.
Okay, so the answer is no.
No, no. I mean, the girls could do it when I die, after my last breath, but no, no, not while I'm around.
Okay, all right. You know what? I respect that. All right. Well, shout out to Namita for those great questions there. Next up, we've got a question from J.M. Gooding. I'll read the entirety of what he wrote
Uh-oh.
here. Yeah, yeah. I'll read the entirety of what he wrote. He says, "Now that I've targeted you for Substack drama because you think I'm a cozy writer, tell me, how do you feel about crunchy taco shells, and what do you think is the most overrated component of a taco?" And this is, of course, the same question that he got me with that started our beef.
Well, Mr. Cozy Writer, J.M. Gooding. Um, um, Crunchy tacos, I am very specific. If they are grocery store crunchy tacos, I'm not going to eat them. That
Uh-huh.
they're just crunchy tacos have to be I had a friend that was from Mexico and made me the perfect crunchy taco, which was soft on the inside and crunchy on the outside. And I
Beautiful.
had a hard time believing that that is what it was supposed to be.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Yeah. So it is much different than the things that you buy in the grocery store that are just like regular nacho shells in a U shape.
Right.
Those are not for me.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, Overrated? Was it overrated
Yes,
part of a
the,
taco?
the the most overrated component of a taco, yes.
Okay. I would have to say it has to be avocado, but I only say that because I'm allergic to avocado and it wants to kill me. So,
Oh, well, then it kind of has to be the choice by default then, huh?
yeah. But I will say I'm sorry, JM, but I'm starting to do tacos in lettuce leaves now because I think they taste better. So, sorry.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
the lettuce wrap. Okay, that's a good approach. I
Yeah.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a taco for me now. I mean, we've had Taco Tuesday like that for 2 weeks now, and the girls like it, I like it. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Great answers all around. And funny enough, JM, last week on the podcast when I interviewed him, I asked him this question. I kind of turned it back around on him, and I was like, what do you think is the most overrated part of a taco? And his answer was guacamole, if I recall correctly. So very similar to yours, but for a different
Oh
reason.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Avocado's trying to kill me, so yeah, it's overrated.
Right. Yeah. Totally fair. All right. So next up, we got a question here from Daniel Coates. And again, I'll read everything he wrote here. He says, I asked my kiddos if they have a question for their favorite writer, and they said that they love your stories. Then I said, that's not a question. And no one asked what you like about being a writer. And the other asked what your favorite color is. So, yeah, sorry, a little bit of a ramble there on my part. But essentially, one asked what you like being about a writer. The other asked what your favorite color is. Also, you're their favorite writer. So that's fantastic.
I love Daniel will text me quite frequently and say, "What should I read to them this week?" And I'd be like, "Okay, what did I write for kids that he can read?" Um, my favorite color is a peachy pumpkin orange color.
Nice.
And let's see, what do I like about being a writer? I like that there are no rules. When I sit down to a piece of paper and I'm creating a story, I can talk about talking mushrooms. I can go to Pluto. I can do whatever I choose to do. There are no rules, there's no time limit. That is the best part about being a writer.
Mm, great answer. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Also, lovely color pick. I like that. Um, I also saw here that Daniel said one of his kids was very insistent that Daniel tells you that the his favorite color is red. So just so you know.
Well, my hair is red, so I hope that helps.
Excellent, excellent. There we go. I love it. I love it. All right, next up, Elizabeth Hagenlocker asks, how do you approach world building?
Do you have a week?
Yeah, right.
That's a big one. Okay. Before Substack, I made it a big to do. I had books on, all kinds of things. Now that I'm at Substack, I start micro. I start with a story, with a character, and I build the faith and the government and all of that bigger stuff around their interactions and their thought processes. So I start micro and work my way out, if that
Okay.
helps.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And just as a follow-up question from me when it comes to world building, because I'm curious, one of the things that I think I mentioned in an article of mine a while back, I forget which one, but I kind of talked about how with world building, you have to manage sort of you as the author, you know all the details. Like I think the examples you said were like the religions and kind of the government structure, for
Right,
example. But those details may not necessarily show up in every chapter or in the story at all. So,
right.
how do you find that line? Like do you have like for example, do you have like kind of for yourself written down all of those details, or do you create the details that are necessary for the story?
Um, if it's important for a later chapter and it's in my head and I know it's going to come up for that character,
Yeah.
I have a stack of multicolored post-it notes
Okay.
that I'll be like, okay, the yellow is for a religion idea, the
Ah,
green is for the environment, and I'll write them down and I'll just stick it out there on my desk. And I'll be like, this is for whatever chapter I foresee down the road. And I have stacks of those things all over the place in my office.
okay, okay. I actually like the color-coded sticky notes though. That's a really nice touch in terms of keeping
Oh
things
yeah,
organized.
it's in my brain. That is how it always goes. It's like, the pink ones are for relationships,
Right.
mother, father, all those kinds of relationships. Green is for environment. It's just the way my mind works. And yeah, that's how I know what I'm looking for.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great answer. Thank you. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, world building is one of those things where yeah, we could do a whole interview about it, but I like how you picked out some kind of like very specific and useful tips there. So thank you. All right. Next up, J. Allen Winchester asks, since I do love a Mad Hatter, what is your favorite and least favorite tea? Also, would you serve them both at an unbirthday party? Is what he said.
Well, yes, I would serve them both because, my tastes do not match everyone else's tastes.
Sure.
Um, my favorite tea, I'm going to get very specific because it is my ultimate favorite, is a Taiwanese tea. It's called Dong Ding.
Mm.
I like it roasted. It's an oolong. I like it. Oh, my friend is going to hate me for this. He owned the tea bar. I like it oversteeped. He was always, you oversteep it. And I'm like, yes, I know. I like it that way.
Ah,
Um, I like it very darkly roasted and oversteeped dong ding.
interesting.
I love oolong. Oolong is my favorite tea in the world.
Okay.
My least favorite would be um, I can't remember the name of it, but it has bergamot oil in it. I think it's
Mm.
Earl Grey
Okay.
that has the bergamot oil.
Yeah.
The bergamot oil does not agree with my system. It makes me nauseous, so I don't
Okay.
drink it. But if someone wanted it, I would definitely serve it because my tastes are not your tastes.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's a pretty common tea as well. So yeah, it would make sense to kind of have that, available in a fictional tea menu.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, oolong tea is really interesting. I haven't tried that specific variety that you mentioned. Now I'm someone who also loves tea, and I like to geek out about, the potential sort of like effects and health benefits of tea. Like whenever I'm going to make some, it's like, okay, what do I want to accomplish? Like, am I trying to boost my
Ah,
energy? Do I want mental clarity? Like, what am I going for here, right? And I kind of
yeah,
gamify it that way when I'm picking what tea to make.
that's
So
that's
I was curious,
interesting.
yeah, do you know off the top of your head, I want to say oolong tea is good for energy, I want to say, because I think it might have caffeine in it, but I feel like it's also good for like mental clarity. Do you by chance know any kind of the benefits of that
It
tea?
it does clear the fog.
Mm,
Um, and it does have some caffeine in it. It's not like black tea, which is very, but then again, I like it roasted, so it probably has a little bit more caffeine into it.
right.
But that's interesting because the friend that had the tea bar, when I was not feeling well, he would say, "Tell me what's wrong," and he would say, "Let's try this tea," and he was always right. He always
Yeah.
nailed it.
That's awesome. Oh, I love that. Oh, I wish I could go to that tea shop. That sounds amazing.
It was such a wonderful place. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, awesome. Great answer there. So next up here, Mina Howell asks, and this is like kind of one of her classic sort of hypothetical questions. She asks, would you rather have cloven hooves, uncloven hooves, or a mixture of both?
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I am going to go with, I'm going to be very specific again because it's who I am. I want reindeer cloven hooves because in the winter they are used like snowshoes and they can walk above the snow.
Mm,
They can dig with them when they need the lichen, they can dig, and their hooves adapt to their environment and the season. So, if I'm going to have hooves, I'm going to have reindeer hooves.
makes sense. No, I love it. And honestly, the attention to detail is perfectly fitting from a writer such as yourself. So I appreciate that.
I go for details.
Yes, 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 yes. And I love it. I love it. All right. Awesome. Great answer. So next up here, I've got a question or two questions actually from Verdant Butterfly. I'll start with the first one here. She asks, if you could pick any superpower, what would you choose?
Um, Time control.
Okay.
I want to be able to pause, fast forward, rewind. Yeah, time
O-
control.
Okay. Now, for the sake of details, then, let me ask you this. When you say, kind of time control, is it an ability, do you foresee it as something where you have control over all of time? Like, for example, can you go all the way back to the beginning of the universe? Or is it more localized, I guess, balanced, if you will, in the sense that you can only rewind or fast forward within a certain kind of window?
Okay, since you're asking for detail, I
Hmm.
want to be the doctor. I
Okay.
don't want to be his companion. I want to be the doctor. I want my TARDIS. I want to go back to the beginning of time, to the forward as far as I can go. I want time and space to be at my will and command.
Wow. Okay. I love it. Fantastic answer. Great reference. I'm glad I asked.
I love Doctor Who. I'm a Who girl. He's my superhero.
Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. All right. Well, Verdant Butterfly's second question. She says, I've officially reserved a spot on my indie shelf for a Mary Ellen Brady book. So do you know which one will be your first release yet?
Ah, thank you, Butterfly, for the nudge. She knows that I'm my worst enemy when it comes to. I said I was going to publish this year, and I have not yet.
Hmm.
Um, I'm still aiming for the Outsider to be in July for my dad.
Okay.
That one's happening no matter what. I will get that one done for my dad's birthday.
Okay.
So if anything, it will be the Outsider, my Western series for my dad.
Okay. No, I love that. Yeah, and while we're on the topic of that one, could you, for people who are unaware, could you give us just a quick little pitch about? I know you said it's a Western, but kind of a quick pitch on the premise of that one.
It is a centaur sheriff
Hmm.
operating in a human world, and the humans don't like him, and the centaurs don't like him because he's working for the humans. So he's the outsider. He is straddling that line.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember because you had originally posted chapters of that book as you were writing it, and now obviously it's paywalled because you're publishing it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I
The
remember
first
when
chapter is still available.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, when you were first writing it, the Centaur Western, what a wonderful concept. Where did that come from?
Well, the Western idea, I just did it for I a tribute to my dad. His
Uh-huh.
birthday was coming up and I was missing him. And so I just sat down and started writing a Western. And
Right.
we watched this crazy, I don't remember what the name of it was, but we always watched like this Greek mythology movie with Harry Hamlin and this mechanical owl. And if anyone knows what the title is, I'd love to know what it is because I'd love to watch it again. But it was Greek mythology and Westerns was my core memory in childhood of being with my dad.
Hmm.
And it just came together and Flint took off.
That's beautiful. Okay, that makes sense. Now I can see where the centaur angle came from. Yeah, it's just such a cool combination because obviously when you think westerns, you think Wild West, horses, stuff like that. So kind of bringing in, the centaurs as sort of kind of a nod to that. I just such a cool premise. Really excited for that book.
Thank you.
All right, so let's see. Next up here, I've got two questions from Circus Dragon. The first question is from one of her dragons who says, in all caps here, "Hello, Mary Ellen. Are you secretly a dragon? I know you are." And then Mello says, "Pardon my hatchling. We will think of a more appropriate question." So let's have you answer that one. Are you secretly a dragon?
I'm very protective of dragons, so I know that had to be mellow. I'm very protective of dragons, so I do when I see dragons under like statues with arrows pointed at them or something, I will send them to Circus Dragon and go, "Do we need to do something about this?" Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. But so you, in fact, are not a dragon secretly, then. You
I
are.
am not a dragon, but I do
Okay.
protect them. I think they are good creatures. I'm not with the Americans who think that they're bad creatures. I'm over with the more Asian variety of they are good luck and wonderful creatures.
I love that. Yeah, that's kind of the approach I'm sure you've seen that I've taken in my work whenever I'm
Yes.
mentioning dragons. Yeah, I like that mindset a lot more as well. That's great. All right, so Circus Dragon followed up by saying, "Okay, I've got a sensible question. Do you have a pre-writing slash peri-writing ritual, like for example, making yourself tea, a favorite pen, etc.? And do you have a spot that you seem to write better in compared to others, and why?" So let's start with, yeah, do you have a pre-writing or peri-writing ritual? I guess is your first question here.
I do have to have tea to write.
Yeah,
That's a given. So it doesn't have to be dong ding.
yeah.
I that is my treat. Dong ding is very much a treat. I usually drink green tea during the day.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you ever tried, by the way, just because I know it helps me when I'm writing, have you ever tried any blends that have lion's mane by any chance?
I love lion's mane.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's shout out to Republic of Tea. I would love it if they wanted to sponsor me one of these days. But um Republic of Tea has a focus blend that's like one of my all-time favorites where it's I believe it's green tea, mint and lion's mane and it's so good. So good.
Lion's mane is a wonderful mushroom. I found some when I was hiking and I actually brought it home and we made little steaks out of it. It's wonderful. I love it.
That's so cool. Oh, I love that. Yeah, yeah. I've seen the lion's mane mushroom steaks. That's cool. Okay. Excellent, excellent. So besides the tea, then, is there anything else that kind of falls into that pre-writing ritual for you that's like always something that you do?
I always have a purple pen, the gel
Okay.
ink.
Right.
I just got a clickable fountain pen for my birthday.
Ooh,
Someone sent it to me, and I was very resistant, and I tried it, and I love it.
interesting. Okay.
It's like a ballpoint pen with the clicky at the top,
Yeah.
and the point comes out the bottom, and then it closes back up when you put it away. The ink is not dried up yet, and it flows beautifully.
Hmm.
So I might be transferring over to this fountain pen.
Interesting. It sounds like the perfect combination of form and function in that case.
Yeah, and it's very comfortable to hold. I was very resistant. I was like, I don't know, but yeah, I'm loving it.
Good stuff. Okay, so we got the clickable fountain pen and the tea, of course. That's great. I love
Yes.
that. So we already covered this a little bit earlier, but just for the sake of making sure that I ask everybody's questions here. So Circus Dragon did ask, do you have a spot that you seem to write in better compared to others? Her example, of course, being the library, and she wanted to know why that might be the case. So yeah, I guess again, kind of going back to where you do your writing, is there, particular spaces that you find are better than others?
The library works for me most of the time, and there are certain libraries that are more comfortable than others. Um, you just have to like use the space to the best that you can, because some don't have plugs and you need your outlet for your computer. Some libraries people talk in more than others. Um, so yeah, I kind of float around with what I need. If I need noise, I'll go to one. If I need quiet, I go to the other.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's fair. Writing is obviously very dynamic. So I feel like even my kind of needs, quote unquote, change, based on, what I'm writing and where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm editing, then I need quiet.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. 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 Definitely understand that one.
Because I'm at war with myself. So,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I love that. Editing being at war with yourself is such a great comparison.
it's what it feels like. So, you need the silence.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I remember one of the funniest things I've seen recently. There was it was like a marquee sign, like a photo of something, and it basically just said, "Long story short, I became an editor," or something like that. It was really funny. I just thought of that after that joke there
That,
about being at war with
yeah, that's
yourself.
perfect.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, that concludes the community questions. I've got a few final questions here for you, but just wanted to say thank you to everyone listening here. For all the amazing questions that were submitted. This was awesome. People really showed up with some really great inquiries here for you. So that was
They were
awesome.
good questions. They made me think.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's good stuff. All right. So, yeah, shifting back into my last couple questions here, I wanted to ask, what's next for you in 2026? And specifically, do you have anything planned in the future here from Starlight Cove, your original universe?
I'm always in Starlight Cove. It's my comfy place. I don't have anything planned for Starlight Cove. It just kind of happens and it flows. And sometimes I publish it and sometimes I just keep it to myself. As far as 2026, I have another Western series that I'm going to start. Um, and it's actually, I don't know, the time frame is the Dino War. So it's a paleontologist, it's a female character in Western Utah
Hmm.
digging for bones. And of course, it's going to be the societal, women can't do that kind
Okay.
of thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Um, the other series that I'm working on is I promised Connor Mancuso that he could be a crispy zombie in my zombie world,
Okay.
and I'm taking my zombies on a road trip.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
Interesting.
the zombie ice cream truck will be taking Disco around the neighborhood and fighting zombies. So that's
Okay.
happening. And then the other one that I'm starting, another series, is Soup Therapy, which I don't know where it came from. I was just hungry one day and wrote a therapy session with a chef, and I liked him.
Interesting. Okay, that's really interesting. I like that. I like the wide range of different genres and kind of stories that you got in motion here. This is great.
Well, that's your fault because Flash Fiction February last year opened the world to me. So
Well, I thoroughly enjoy, and I know I'm not the only one. I thoroughly enjoy, watching you. I kind of refer to you, jokingly as a genre chameleon in the sense that you can just kind of, blend into any genre you want and act like you've been writing it forever.
oh no, it's only been a year.
Right. It's crazy though. It's crazy to think about. I mean, again, as people have said in the community questions, the quality is just out of this world every single time you hit post. I mean, it's amazing. Um,
Thank you.
yeah. No, well, thank you. I mean, having your stories in the world is really, again, I'm not the only one who loves them. That's great stuff. Great stuff. Really excited about those projects. I love like I said, the wide spectrum of different kind of stories and genres you got in motion there. Um, All right, so my final question here. Normally, I would ask for like kind of general writing advice, as you know, but since you were the winner again, two-time winner of my writing challenges here, I was curious if you had any final tips that you would share to other writers joining, for example, next month's Madness and Mayhem. Any tips for them on how to maintain kind of that speed and quality throughout the month and sort of, make it all the way to the finish line as you have?
Um, Let me see. Well, first of all, it's just fun.
Yeah.
So just try it and have fun. Don't take yourself seriously. Don't overanalyze what you're writing. Just write and post. Don't think about it. Just write and post. And then get everyone involved. I
Mm,
mean, I used the Get the Substack app on the back of a couple of my posts, and my world opened up.
mm,
So I had people that I knew in real life actually popping onto Substack and commenting, which is kind of fun.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's scary to think about, but in
Mhm.
the end, it's fun. So you're sharing your life with other people.
Right. Right, right, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like it's like you said earlier. It's like definitely go into it with the mindset of like I want to work on this, I want to try this, so on and so forth.
Exactly.
But ultimately, as you said, it's about having fun. It's about community. It's about meeting new people, bringing new people into the fold. So I love that. And specifically, you said, of course, that you use the Get the Substack app button, which, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
that's just one of the pre-programmed kind of buttons you can add to your post, right?
It is. I think it's button, and then you go down to more, and it says get the app. And I
Okay.
just hit it on a couple of my final posts, and people downloaded the app. I mean, my second grade teacher downloaded the app and started commenting. So you never know who is going to want to read your things and comment.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely. No, I love that. That's a fantastic tip. And then, of course, what we just discussed as well. So yeah, 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 yeah. And as you said, Madness and Mayhem, you're going to be a participant, but you have requested not to be scored. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how all that plays out. But I'm very happy to hear that you'll still be, obviously participating in the challenge because
Oh,
it
yeah.
wouldn't be the same without you.
I may skip a couple of days, but I'm not going to be in there every day, just like hammering them out like I usually do.
Totally fair. You deserve a break. And you have a lot going on anyway, so I
I do.
understand
I
that.
have a couple series. So, yeah, I want to
Right.
get those series done, and I want to publish my dad's book. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. Very, very much looking forward to the book and obviously everything else you've got going on. And yeah, that concludes my questions for this second interview here. But Mary Ellen, I mean, it was a pleasure as always. It is wonderful to chat with you.
thank you so much.
All right, and thank you again to Mary Ellen for that amazing interview, and congratulations to her as well as the other two winners that we featured recently on the show. J.M. Gooding, winner of the middleweight bracket, and of course Daniel Coates, winner of the lightweight bracket. And with this, we have officially closed the book on Flash Fiction February 2026. Thank you again to everyone who participated. And now, a look for next week on Substack. This coming week is packed as always. I've got a new power-up prompt coming tomorrow, and then this coming week on Tuesday is a new chapter of The Order of the Pawn. I'm going to be posting my first ever book review this coming week as well. I was asked to be an ARC reader on The Devouring by A.M. Schilling, and I'm really excited to share my thoughts on this upcoming action horror novel. Aside from all of that, I also need to report that I've been put on watch by Happy Nielsen, Substack's friendliest bully, and not someone you want to mess with. You see, I let it slip earlier today before recording the podcast that I've been struggling to work up the courage to write my cosmic horror work in progress that has been collecting dust. It is by far the most ambitious project that I ever started in my time as a writer, and it's just been very hard to get back to, and at this point I'm scared that I just won't be able to do it justice. Happy, of course, caught wind of this and put me on notice immediately, which I would expect nothing less. Now, I really, really don't want to get on her bad side, and to be fair, the prompt goddess has been asking me for where this novel is at for a while now, too. So, you know what? I'm going to hold myself accountable. Starting this week and into the following weeks, I'll be sharing weekly updates on the novel right here in this segment of the show, including what I'm going to be doing the following week. So, next week's plan for my cosmic horror work in progress is to revisit the outline. Part of the problem with it is that it has 6 POVs, and for the longest time I had this weird idea that they all needed an equal number of chapters, and so the outline reflected that. I've since realized that that's not necessary after speaking with other writers and friends of mine, so I'm going to expand and contract the number of chapters and story arcs per POV so that the book flows well and has room to breathe with the stories without becoming too complex. So I'll report back on progress with the outline next week, and happy if you're listening. I appreciate you as always. And that's it for now, everybody. I'm wishing you all a productive and safe week of writing, and I'll talk to you soon. This is Bradley Ramsey, signing off.
I must rest now, Bradley.
Hey, that's fine, Lord Devereaux. I really appreciate you showing up for this final Flash Fiction February episode.
Indeed. Remind me, when must I be conscious again?
Well, I'm gonna need you back next month for Madness and Mayhem.
Ah, yes. The taste of chaos. I look forward to it.
Me too, my friend. It's gonna be a fun one.